this a great game or what? With the Hall of Famer Tim Kurkjian, I am Jeff Kurkjian. Dad, a player hit 4 home runs in one game. We're going to get into that. It's been so crazy. A triple play that wasn't really a triple play.
Right, and we had a couple of wild walk-offs in a couple of series. It was a bizarre weekend, Jeff, but I'm telling you, every weekend of this season, every week of this season has been totally bizarre. This is, to me, this is the jumping off point of the 2025 season. It has made absolutely no sense. And last weekend especially made no sense, which is, again, Jeff, this is why we do this show. This is why we cover baseball for a living. So we can slap our forehead and go, how did that happen? I've done it 100 times this season already, a bunch of times this weekend.
So before we dive into the weekend and the takeaways, Dad, we screwed the pooch on this one.
Oh, boy, did we ever. we have to take, I'll take full blame for all of this. Go ahead, explain.
I should have said something.
Explain.
We almost got canceled, and here's why. Last week on the show, we had Mel Kiper, the week of the NFL draft, right? And so we kind of did a little bit of a football theme here in the football offseason. And Dad, you came up with a Team Tim that involved the all-football baseball team. So these are the best players to play both sports. And, well, we're just going to say we left out maybe the greatest two-sport athlete of all time.
Right. I left Bo Jackson off the all-football baseball team when he is clearly the greatest combination of baseball and football that has ever played. I'm not sure how I did this, Jeff, but I got to the outfielders, and I've got Deion Sanders and Brian Jordan and Jim Thorpe, and I thought, Kirk Gibson, so I thought, well, I got enough outfielders here.
You just moved on.
And I just moved on because once you get 3 or 4, you just say, all right, that's enough. And I left off Bo Jackson. So we got a call from a very nice caller like, did Tim have a senior moment? Yes. Tim at age 68 has senior moments more often than he should. This is the worst one I've ever had. And I do these lists every week, and I'm not apologizing to anyone. These are pointless lists. They don't mean anything. However, this one meant something, and I got it completely wrong. The only other guy who's really called in to say, how could you leave this guy off, was I left on the All Eclipse team. I left Moonlight Graham. Off the All Eclipse team. And a guy tweeted to me, and he's right. How could you leave Moonlight Graham off the All Eclipse team? He's right. Only the guy who wrote it about Bo Jackson was totally right. All I could say is, I'm sorry, I'm 68, and a terrible omission was made.
It's okay. Do you feel better now?
Yes, it would be like leaving Seth Beer off the All St. Patrick's team. Thank God I got him right.
Right. So we're glad that we could come on. It was frustrating that it was on a Thursday show and we didn't have until Tuesday. I almost had our PR people on it as a nightmare.
Jeff, look, I am laughing right now, but when you called to tell me, did we leave Bo Jackson off? I am not exaggerating. No sympathy required, but I had a sleepless night thinking, how could I have forgotten the number one guy on the list? That would be like leaving Babe Ruth off the all-time baseball player list.
And can I just say, and this speaks volumes to the people who listen to this show, the members of our family, as we call it, right? Nobody messaged in and said,
"You're an idiot.
Dare you? Right. That's what social media would do. Now, let it be known, I purposely did not put that list on social media as to save my dad's career here. However, everybody who had messaged in was super polite and super cool about it, and we're glad that you're listening and paying attention that much, Dad.
Right. Now I'm worried that they're really paying attention this much, because if I make another mistake, they're going to point it out.
No,
that was
worry.
awful, and I'm sorry, and it's not going to happen again.
We have another Team Tim, Dad. Hopefully you'll redeem yourself today.
And this one's a surprise even for you, Jeff.
Okay.
So I'm going to spring this on you at the end of the episode, and I'm going to tell you that Eugenio Suárez has something to do with it.
All right. Well, I mean, let's go right to the takeaways. Great transition, Dad. A+.
Right. So Eugenio Suárez hit 4 home runs in a game the other night. So he's the 19th player in Major League history to hit 4 home runs in one game. Keep in mind that Gary Sheffield, David Ortiz, Rafael Palmeiro all 500 home run hitters never hit 3 in a game. This
insane.
is the third 3+ home run game of Suárez's career, and his first, of course, 4-homer game. The last guy to hit 4 homers in a game was J.D. Martinez, and he was also a member of the Diamondbacks. So the last 2 players who did this were members of the Diamondbacks. So Torey Lovullo, the manager of the Diamondbacks, is the only manager to manage 2 players who hit 4 home runs in one game. Think about that for a second.
Oh, my gosh.
So before J.D. Martinez, the last guy to hit 4 homers in a game was Scooter Gennett, who, by the way, hit 87 homers in his career, but he hit 4 in one game. And one of his teammates on the Reds that year was Eugenio Suárez. So, as I told you, Jeff, I listened to this entire game driving from home to Bristol to do Baseball Tonight, 6 hours in the car, listen to every pitch. Darren O'Day was doing the color on the radio for the Braves broadcast in a 4-homer game. He's great, by the way, Jeff. Not good. He's great, and he's just started his broadcasting career.
Right.
He was fantastic, but I didn't know this. The last guy before Scooter Gennett to hit 4 homers in a game was Josh Hamilton. So after Suárez hit his 4th, Darren O'Day says, oh, by the way, I gave up Josh Hamilton's 4th home run of the game that night in Baltimore.
No way.
How great is that? So here I'm driving up thinking, like, I've learned like 100 things tonight, but I've forgotten that Darren O'Day had given up number 4 to Josh Hamilton. And now Darren O'Day is broadcasting a game in which Eugenio Suárez hit his 4th, which is just incredible.
Another wrinkle in this whole 4-homer takeaway.
Right. There are so many wrinkles. So that homer gave him 10 homers for the year. He had 19 hits, so over half of his hits were home runs. And also, he's the 3rd player to hit 4 homers in a game, yet his team lost. Ed Delahanty in the 1800s and Bob Horner hit 4 homers in a game in which their team lost. And I hope this means something, Jeff, but on the way to Bristol, it's a 6-hour ride, and I have nothing else to do. I don't listen to music, but I listen to every game on the radio. Sirius XM radio is the greatest invention of my lifetime. But I'm thinking, I'm driving, I'm all by myself, of course, and I'm thinking I got to be able to name the 19 guys off the top of my head who hit 4 home runs in a game. So I do pretty darn well because I used to have this list memorized. I haven't tried it in a long time. But I got to 18, and I couldn't come up with the 19th guy. So I considered, all right, I might have to cheat on this. But I got an hour left to go before Bristol, so I got 1 more hour. And I say, I'm not getting out of this car till I get this right. So, Jeff, if you're in a car and you want to cheat on a question or get information on a question, how do you do that in your car? Who do you call?
I mean, you call the Elias Sports Bureau?
No, in your car. Like, is there a button in your car that you can call?
Like
to answer a question.
Oh, yeah, you could do Siri.
Right.
Did you ask Siri a question?
So get this. I don't even know how to use Siri.
Because, that was immediately where my head went, but I was assuming you had no clue how to do this.
I don't know how to do it, but get this, Jeff, and I find this to be the stupidest thing maybe of my entire life. The 19th guy, the last guy I got, was in 1948, Pat Siri.
No.
Hit 4 homers in a game. How about that? If I knew how to call Siri, I might have. But that's when I figured out who the 19th guy was thinking about calling Siri, which I don't know how to do. And the answer was Pat Siri. Seerey.
She would have said, my grandfather, Pat Siri.
Jeff, this is the life that your dad leads.
Yeah, I know.
He's driving 6 hours in the middle of the night to get to work, and all he can think about is, can I name all 19 guys? This is a challenge I put myself through, and I got him right with a little help from Siri. Pat Siri.
Pat Siri. What other takeaways do you got for us?
Okay, Jeff. So the Tigers are really good. I told you I saw them in the playoffs last year, got a really good look at them. And through Sunday, they're 18-10. Now, last year, Jeff, they won in part because they had Tarek Skubal, the best pitcher in the American League, and as A.J. Hinch, the manager, used to say, we're Tarek Skubal, and then we're chaos. Like, we don't even know who's starting next game or the game after that. Well, now they've got their rotation straightened out. Casey Mize, once one of the best pitching prospects in baseball, has found it after a bunch of injuries. He's 4-1, 2.12 ERA. Jack Flaherty is in the rotation. So this tremendous weakness they had after their ace starter is no longer a weakness. I really like what I see from the Tigers. Plus Spencer Torkelson, their big first baseman, is having a very good year. Remember, overall number 1 pick in the country, Spencer Torkelson, and he struggled terribly. And the Tigers sent him to the minor leagues last year. And he fixed his swing, and he came back and hit last year and has hit all of this year. And the takeaway there is that A.J. Hinch told me, he's such a good manager. He's such a great feel with people. He told me he called Spencer Torkelson every day during his minor league stay last year, just to make sure, to see how he's doing and make sure, look, you're a part of our team. We just got to get you straightened out.
Just looking out for you.
Does that tell you something about the manager? And if you're a player and your guy calls you every day, do you not think I got to do my best for him?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think too, hey, this is temporary, so let me fix out the kinks and get going. That's a great manager. It's a great boss.
Of course,
right?
That goes for any industry that you're in, right? Okay, the Yankees, at least for the moment, have changed their closer to Luke Weaver, who's great, not good, great. He was tremendous last year when he finally developed his perfect changeup, which changed the entire arc of his career. But Devin Williams is out. Devin Williams is a great pitcher. He has the best changeup in baseball. Last year, he gave up 3 runs in 22 appearances, and then he gave up 3 runs in back-to-back appearances this year for the Yankees, and they just have to give him another role in the bullpen until he gets it straightened out. I told you I wrote a story on the changeup, most important pitch in baseball, and if you lose the field for the changeup, it becomes like an 84-mile-an-hour fastball, and they know it's coming. Then that's a BP fastball, and you're in a lot of trouble. That's what's happened to Devin Williams, but it's going to change. He'll be the closer before the season's over, and if Luke Weaver is your setup guy, you're in pretty darn good shape. Lastly, you talked about the triple play that wasn't a triple play. So Saturday in the Nationals game, an amazing an amazing weekend series, Mets. There was a line drive hit to Nathaniel Lowe, the first baseman, 2 guys on, nobody out. And it looked like it short hopped him, but they called it a catch. The runners were running. And so it really wasn't a triple play, but the umpires upheld the call because there is no replay on balls that don't leave the infield. Now, Jeff, look, we're big umpire guys. We're not here to slam anybody, but why are you not allowed to review a ball that doesn't leave the infield? That ball needed to be reviewed. That ball was not caught. That is not a triple play, but it was so bang, bang. That's where replay really comes in handy. Am I wrong about this?
No, I think you're absolutely right. And we've seen this for years in the NFL. They're like, well, that's not reviewable, though. And it's like, well, clearly that was or wasn't a catch or whatever it might be. So these rules, I mean, I look at it as that. If we're going to have replay, might as well just have replay and do it.
Right. We might as well replay everything except for balls and strikes, which we're going to be doing sooner rather than later. Yes.
What do you got for Qurikjians? These are the best parts of the game that we love.
Yeah, okay. So we talked about some of the crazy walk-offs. So Friday night at Nationals Park, we just talked about what an amazing weekend series that was against the Mets. Friday night, C.J. Abrams, who can really run, is on first base, 3-2 count, 2 outs, 9th inning, and he's running on a 3-2 pitch. James Wood hits a single up the middle, and C.J. Abrams scores from first base on a walk-off single. Now, does that sound odd to you?
Yeah, very strange.
Well, I'm surprised. I asked Frank from the Elias last time it happened. It was in 2021. Miguel.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it would be before that. Miguel Cabrera singled up the middle, and Jonathan Scope scored from first base with a walk-off single that scored a runner from first. So it's been almost 5 years since that happened. I thought it would have been longer.
Now, I don't want to get into the fine tuning of scoring, but at a certain point, well, maybe if he's running on the pitch, I'm trying to think of how, maybe the guy who hit the ball didn't want to risk getting out at second, right? So he didn't want to stretch what would have been a double into a double and just said, I'm going to stand at first because there's no point in me being on second because if it's first and third, I'll
that's
take
part
second.
of it, Jeff.
You know what I mean?
In that situation, the runner getting to second with 2 outs is irrelevant. Right.
And if you get out at second,
yeah, that's a fireable offense.
So
right.
now I'm trying to justify, okay, maybe it does make more sense that guys are hitting singles.
Right.
Okay.
The other walk-off was Sunday in San Francisco. Elliot Ramos of the Giants, tie score 2-2 against the Rangers. He singles and an infield hit and the ball's thrown all over the field. And it's what we call, Jeff, a little league home run, that he got a single and errors brought him the rest of the way home. So it goes as a walk-off single, even though he didn't drive anybody in, but the game ended on a single, which is the single that he hit. So I asked again, Frank from the Elias, when's the last time a game ended quite like that? And to my astonishment, a game ended like that last year when Josh Young of the Rangers had a hit that scored a run, and then an error ended up scoring him, the batter runner, with the winning run. Wow. And Josh Young was also a player in that game Sunday against the Giants. So the last 2 times it happened, Josh Young was involved in the plays.
Maybe we got to talk to our friends at Game Changer of how the moms and dads are scoring that, because if you're under 13, that's a home run.
Right.
And I say that because I think my only career triple in Little League was an error-filled single, really.
Right.
Probably just an error-filled error. I don't even think I reached.
Jeff, you were a better player than you gave yourself credit for. All right, so Brenton Doyle of the Rockies struck out 4 times out of the leadoff spot the other day. So that marks the 9th time this year that a leadoff hitter has struck out 4 times or more in a game. That's the most ever before the month of May. And I keep telling you this, Jeff, because the leadoff position has changed so much in baseball. It doesn't make any sense anymore. We put Aaron Judge, we put Shohei Ohtani, we put Kyle Schwarber, we put Austin Wells, we put almost anybody in the leadoff spot to get more at-bats. But the leadoff spot used to be the pixie little second baseman who put the ball in play, didn't strike out, could run. Those days are over, and this statistic certainly proves that out. So Austin Wynns, we told you the other day, he was one of that 8-9 group that, drove in 14 runs in one game. So Austin Wynns, backup catcher for the Reds, in consecutive games, not back-to-back games, but consecutive games for him, had 8 hits and 9 RBIs. And he's like a bottom-of-the-order hitter,
right,
the backup catcher for the Reds. So he tied the Reds' franchise record for most hits and most RBIs in consecutive starts. So the rich history of the Reds. He tied a record with I don't even know who holds those records, but Johnny Bench, George Foster, Frank Robinson, all these guys, these great players played for the Reds, and now Austin Wynns is in that group.
He is a part of some real royalty in Cincinnati history.
Right, and we love it. All right, last thing, Jeff. So Saturday night, I got a kick out of this. The Mariners beat the Marlins 14-0. Now, anytime there's a 14-0 score, somebody says, "Oh, there was a football game that happened on Saturday night in Seattle." So just take a guess for me, Jeff. Do you think there was a 14-0 game in the NFL last year?
My guess would be, well, the Browns did play last year. And I can make that joke because I lived in Cleveland for 3 years. 3 years I lived in Cleveland. They won 1 game.
Really?
Dad, I went to 11 Browns home games. 0-11.
Really?
Yeah.
So, Jeff, wherever you go, winning follows. You went to Cleveland and the Cavs won. You went to Cleveland and the Indians went to the World Series.
I went to Vegas and the Golden Knights went to the Stanley Cup final and then won the Stanley Cup final years later. Then I moved to Philly, right? And in the first year I lived here, the Phillies
went to the
miracle comeback in 2022 to make it to the World Series. Then the Eagles go to the Super Bowl later, a couple of years, win the Super Bowl. So
right, didn't someone from Portland, some fan, call you and say, "Jeff, can you please move to Portland? We need some help."
Yeah, I've had 3 different cities, friends of mine, contact me: Portland and Buffalo and Miami. Now, I didn't feel as bad about Miami. You had all those championships with LeBron.
Right.
But Portland and Buffalo could use some Jeff Kurkjian magic on the radio, I guess.
All right. Well, so Jeff, the last NFL football game that ended 14-0 was in 2008.
Wow.
2008. And get this, the Bengals beat the Browns 14-0.
Wow. That is beautiful. That is so beautiful.
Yeah, it's so good.
And that is our Qurikjians coming up next here shortly on Is This a Great Game or What? We're going to get that mysterious Team Tim, hoping to get a redemption there for my dad. Redemption.
Irredeemable, Jeff, after the Bo Jackson mistake.
And then we're going to unrelate them because there's nothing we can do to win you back. But we've got that. We've got an On This Date in baseball history, Dad. And then my intern at my full-time job asked me a question that's going to be our Kurkjian Quandary. That's all coming up next on Is This a Great Game or What? All right, Dad, let's jump right into On This Date in baseball history.
Right. So on this date in 1986, Roger Clemens struck out 20 Seattle Mariners in one game. So he's the first pitcher ever to strike out 20 in a 9-inning game. Tom Chaney holds the record with 21 strikeouts, but that was in extra innings. So Roger Clemens strikes out 20. By the way, 10 years later, he had another 20 strikeout game. So he had two 20 strikeout games, and they were 10 years apart. So if you wonder how great Roger Clemens was, all you got to do is know that note. So a week later, the Red Sox are in Seattle to face the Mariners again. And he's doing a radio interview like the day before his start. And the poor guy interviewing him got a little bit confused and said to him, "Roger, the last time you faced the Mariners, you struck out 30. So Roger, to his eternal credit, very politely said, "Well, actually, it was only 20. And the poor radio guy pats him on the back and goes, "Well, maybe 30 the next time." To which, like the people, I'm sure the people in the broadcast booth are saying, "Great recovery there." Right. Whereas I think Roger had every right to say, "Yeah, I'm going to pitch 10 innings and strike out everyone. Everyone." That was April 29th, 1986. And a little closer to home for me, Jeff, on April 29th, 1988, that was the night that the Orioles won their first game of the season. Remember, the 88 Orioles started out 0-21.
Yeah.
And I was the beat writer for the Baltimore Sun. I covered every one of those losses. And the first game they finally won was a Friday night at then Comiskey Park. They beat the White Sox 9-0. Mark Williamson and Dave Schmidt combined on the shutout. And Eddie Murray, Hall of Famer, hit a home run in the first inning to give them the lead. Cal Ripken, Hall of Famer, had 4 hits in that game. And it just amazes me they had 2 Hall of Famers on that team, not their fault, and they lost 21 consecutive games. I'll never forget being in Frank Robinson's office after the game, and the phone rang in there, and he picked it up, and he goes, "Yes, Mr. President." Like, he was joking that the President of the United States had called him to congratulate him. But as you know the story, Jeff.
The best.
Right. The president had called him during the losing streak to offer some sort of support, to which it's a long story, which I've told 50 times. I'm not going to tell it again. But the president called Frank Robinson and said to Frank, after loss number 18 in a row, "Frank, I know what you're going through." And Frank said, "Mr. President, you got no idea what I'm going through." Well, that was the night that the streak ended, April 29th, 1988.
That's On This Date in baseball history, Dad. I thought I could kind of surprise you here today. So I'm a country music morning show host in Philadelphia. Our show's played in Boston and Las Vegas. And this morning, my intern walks into my office after the show, and he says, "Hey, I got a question for you." Thinking, okay, yeah, what can I do to help? How can I help you? I'm helping him learn how to edit video and do some other stuff. Our intern looks at me, and he goes, "Think 100 men could kill a gorilla?" I said, "Excuse me?" And he goes, "I'm sorry. Me and my buddies are texting about this, and I think it's ridiculous. I don't think 100 men could kill a gorilla." So we sat there and talked about it, and I thought this is perfect for a Kurkjian Quandary. 100 men, no weapons, just men against one gorilla. Dad, do you think 100 men, and they are allowed to plan before, they're allowed to get together, 100 men, and make a plan. If 100 men can figure out anything together, then yeah, they'll do that. Do you think who wins?
All right, where is the fight taking place?
Is it cage match?
Is it in a cage? Is it in a jungle or what?
It's just open ground. Just
all right. It's on a football field. All right, never
there
mind.
You go.
All right,
it's on a football field.
All right, this is the stupidest hypothetical I've ever heard. Can a man kill a charging tiger with a chainsaw? Was the previous dumbest thing I've ever heard, but I love that.
That's a good one.
All right, I'm gonna say that the 100 men strategically could figure out a way to kill him. How much does 100 men weigh?
I mean, if you say the average, let's take an average weight, 165.
200 pounds. We need 100 200-pound men.
So you and I are
we're out.
Not in this. Okay, so 200 pounds. Yeah, I mean that's 200,000 pounds of man.
All right. If they charge all at the same time, could they knock? Yes, they could knock them to the ground. How do you kill a gorilla though? Do you hit him in the head?
I think it's just. I think you just have to suffocate him. Just put 100 men on top of him. The first 10 men are gonna totally be dead, but
well, maybe the first 50 men, but then now we're down to can 50 men kill? All right, I'm gonna say 100 men can somehow, given that their lives are at stake, 100 men could figure out how to kill one gorilla.
It may be the dumbest Kurkjian Quandary because it has no importance to anything we're talking about, nor does it have any theme to it. Usually we theme it out, could you beat Tiger Woods if you had 100-stroke lead?
Usually there's a hook, Jeff. There's no hook except for a curious intern. Now, speaking of the stupidest, Jeff, now I'm going to give you the stupidest team Tim of all time.
Oh,
okay?
my
Now,
gosh.
I did this in hopes of redemption, as you said, for leaving Bo Jackson off the all baseball football team. Okay, so I'm just going to start to read this, and I want you to tell me when you understand where I'm going with this.
Okay.
Do you remember my clue? And it's a big.
Yeah, I got your clue. You don't need to give me any more clues.
All right. The first baseman is Vinny Pasquantino. The second baseman.
All of the players have all of the vowels in their
Oh
name.
my God! You cheated. You looked at my notes.
I swear.
You did.
Dad, you are the least subtle at clues.
Oh.
What is
I've already told you about. All right.
You told me about
Eugenio Suárez.
Eugenio Suárez was going to be in it. So I know our thing I brought up to you last week that Omar Vizquel also is he the shortstop. So I mean, listen, Dad, I wish I could have let you just go through, and you should go through your team, Tim. I will let you do it. But I wanted to prove to you, one, that your clues subtlety, as subtle as a sledgehammer, Dad. But
all right, I'm sorry that I insulted you, Jeff. I didn't mean to do that.
As soon as I heard the first one, I knew what I was looking for, and Vinny, I was like, and then when you hit me.
Vinny Pasquantino, that was pretty easy.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right.
Kilvio Veras is the second baseman.
Okay.
Omar Vizquel is the shortstop. And Eugenio Suárez is the third baseman.
I have a question for you. I'm only interrupting because this is genuinely a pet peeve, or is it not? When you're listing out players, right? Who plays first, second?
Right. You could go shortstop.
Then third?
Well, it's
or
five.
Third, that's what I'm
second,
saying.
third, shortstop. Because if you're going to do it 3, 4, 5, 6, the third base.
Do you do it by the scorer's book, right? Exactly what you're saying, or
the positioning on the field.
If you don't have a preference either way, I'm just genuinely asking because you've done it both ways.
I usually go third baseman first, then the shortstop. But a lot of times I switch around. I don't think there's a correct answer.
Okay,
here, but Jeff, you're starting to think like me.
I didn't want to commit a crime.
And that is starting to really worry me.
I didn't want to commit a crime like when Mark Simon reached out to me and said the MLB. And pretty much he deleted my number after that.
The NFL, the NBA.
It all makes sense.
And it's MLB, not the MLB.
The big leagues.
Right. It's the big leagues.
I like
not the Major League Baseball. Good
Doesn't
point.
make any sense.
Outfield, Moises Alou
Oh, that's a good one.
Jack Fournier, who led his league in home runs. He's the only guy to lead his league in home runs with all the vowels in his last name, or in both names. So if Eugenio Suárez does, he'll become the second one. Carlos Quinton, most home runs ever by someone whose last name begins with a Q. And our catcher, I had to look this one up, Julio Mascaro, which he played in the last 20 years, but I frankly don't remember him. Played for Toronto very, very briefly.
Where do you even start when you need to quote? Look, what do you type in?
Right. Well, I did this yesterday, and I just typed in my encyclopedia online, QU. There were 177 players, QU. So, because the U is usually the hardest one.
Right.
So I didn't go through all the names, but I started with QU, and this was the list I came up with.
There you go.
And my two pitchers, and you're not allowed to use the same name twice because that's cheating. But we have two pitchers with the same Nelson and Ed Figueroa. Now, what is the significance of Figueroa?
I'm not sure. Help me here. It has all of them, right? Oh, yeah.
In the
last name.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
okay.
I'm sure David Firstman is going to call us and tell us about other guys who have all the vowels in their last name, but I know that Ed and Nelson Figueroa have all the vowels in their last name, and that's why they're the two pitchers on our team.
It's fantastic. That's our team, Tim. Redemption round, Dad. I gotta say, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
I'm still hurting inside from Bo Jackson.
Yeah, so. I think we had the largest amount of unsubscribers, and I'm just kidding. Don't worry.
We laugh and we learn on this show, and I learned a lesson. Don't just get to 3 outfielders and move on.
Make sure we're not missing anybody. Hey, so tomorrow the podcast will feature an interview with Steve Sparks. And let me tell you right now, I personally, if you're like me, I didn't know much about Steve Sparks, right? Knew he's a former major leaguer, spent some time in the minors. Now he's a broadcaster for the Astros. That's pretty much it. So when you bring in a heavy hitter like a Cal Ripken Jr. or a Johnny Bench, right? I get nervous, I get excited, right? And we know more or less what to expect from that person. Steve Sparks completely blew me away. We laughed. We cried. It was such a fun time with
him. And
him.
he taught us a bunch of things, too.
He did. I cannot recommend enough. Don't look at the feed tomorrow and think, oh, I'm not familiar with him. I haven't heard of him. I'm not just listen. I promise you, you will be entertained the entire time.
Jeff, when I talk to young students about becoming a journalist, a broadcaster, and they say, what should I be looking for? I tell them all, just be curious. Mm-hmm. Keep your eyes open. Keep your ears open. That's what Steve Sparks does, as well as certainly any former player that I've ever seen. And he's right on the top of the list of people who think outside the box on stuff. And he said at the end of our interview, he said, I'm hoping to become a seamhead. And I'm thinking, hoping to become a seamhead? You're one of the captains of the all-seamhead team already, and you're a former player. That's the separator for Steve Sparks.
Not to mention that he is a member of the family. I mean, the amount of recall he had for episodes this or last season was unbelievable, which is so flattering, Dad. That's something our guests do not need to listen. We don't need, gosh, it's like trying to even handcuff your wife, my mom, to listen to one episode is difficult. But that was a really cool moment.
Right. And when I saw him in Minneapolis earlier this year for a radio game, he came up to me and just said, poor Papa. And I went, oh my gosh, Steve, you've been watching way too much.
You're part of the family, and so are you. We love doing this show. We do it for you. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, thank you so much for being a part of our family.